Okay, before we start things off, I just wanted to say thanks again for your patience, everyone. If maybe you're just tuning in right now and you're not entirely aware, Bismarck got hit with a real nasty snowstorm on Thursday, and that pretty much knocked everything out for 2 days, so I was not able to get to a Black Panther screening until today, which is Saturday as I'm recording this. So, again, thanks for your patience, and let's get on with the review. Okay, so again, if you're not entirely familiar with my channel, whenever I review a lot of the big comic booky stuff or just overall geeky culture stuff, I tend to just give my overall thoughts early on and then just have a big spoiler section and then wrap things up with trailers at the end. So there'll be timestamps in the video itself, which will explain when to skip to if you want to avoid spoilers. Okay? Okay. So, my review for Black Panther Wakanda Forever is an A. Overall, this is an amazing film. It's really well done, especially given the horrendous circumstances they had to film all of this with. Obviously, outside of the production and the tragic consequences that had happened and everything that's, as I said, that's gone into this. And having to balance a lot of that out with also telling a good story that helps set things up for possible future films, as well as keeping characters around from the first, or not so much keeping characters around, but trying to keep spirits up as best as they could throughout this whole thing. If there is a drawback, is that the film is almost 3 hours long, and it does feel like that at times. Unfortunately, too, I'd say there's a little bit of moroseness in the film. Like, obviously, again, given the situations, I'm not expecting a laugh fest, but it did seem like a lot of the humor just wasn't there, or felt a little forced at times. And again, understandable given the situation, but still, that did lead to some very wonky pacing at some points with some, when are they going to get to the fireworks factory moments. So again, very minor quibbles though. Overall, this is an extraordinary film, and it is going to get an A.
The mighty, the incredible, and the invincible. The Avengers. Marvel, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Brand new Wednesday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central. Only on Disney XD. Yeah!
Okay, again, this is the big spoiler section, so skip to the following point if you want to avoid all the spoilers. Okay, so, obviously they did have to address the, for lack of a better term, elephant in the room in this one with Chadwick Boseman's passing by having T'Challa basically die off-screen of a illness or a disease very early on in the film. It's hard to exactly explain. They don't say what it is right off the bat, but it is later sort of implied that it was something that he was aware of, and certain precautions were then taken. So I do think it's meant to very thinly veiled allusions to him probably having some form of cancer. At least that's what I kind of concluded, much like, again, Chadwick Boseman. And as this is happening, Shuri is working feverishly to try to recreate the herbs, the healing herbs of the Black Panther that they used. But because Killmonger destroyed them in the first film, and it's just not working, and by the time she even gets anything close to a possible prototype, he is gone, and their whole country is kind of then thrown into, not quite chaos, but basically a regression, because T'Challa's mother, Rwanda, takes over as queen. And, she immediately starts kind of going back on his promises to open Wakanda up to the world and share vibranium with worthy people, basically. And now, the UN is kind of hitting back on this. There's some French military people who attack a Wakandan power station off the Malayan coast. And as this is happening, the U.S., basically, Rwanda goes to the... I keep saying Rwanda. I'm sorry about this. And if that's wrong, I apologize. I'll put the correction up on the screen if I screwed that up. But anyway, as this is happening, the United States has somehow managed to track what appears to be a vibranium settlement in the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere around the Gulf of Mexico. And it turns out that this is property of the Telocan people, of which Namor is their ruler. They have another name for him, but I cannot try. I have tried to pronounce it as best I could. And I'm just not even going to warrant that right now. So, yeah, that is how Namor enters the picture. They attack this drilling station, and basically they find out that a scientist in America has built a vibranium detector, and, they want this scientist, so they covertly approach the Wakandans for help. Basically, Namor swims his way into Wakanda, pops up under there, startles Rwanda and Shuri, and startles them and basically says, "Look, this is what we need. Like, we use vibranium, you use vibranium. We're not trying to start a fight here. We just we need your help." And the Wakandans are not entirely appreciative of this. And, he just kind of marched into their country and demanded this. And basically Shuri's arc through this film is that she blames... it's partially her sort of blaming herself for what happened to T'Challa, and also that she, is angry over everything that happened. And again, the country and Rwanda are all angry over, hey, we came to you for help with our previous king, and with T'Chaka, and he was killed, and then T'Challa comes and he's ready to open up and work with you, and now he dies. We're done with this. We're washing our hands. We're acting of our own accordance. We're going back to being kind of isolationist again. Shuri, like I said, is just angry. She just wants to, because she blames the world for what happened. I guess, to an extent, the Thanos snap, again, T'Challa's death. Again, a lot of resistance to Wakanda. They couldn't get Zemo back in Wakanda. So they're not particularly happy about anything that's going on right now. And, then these Telokans show up, and they're not happy because now everyone thinks these are Wakandan attacks because they're vibranium-based. And then, all of this is happening. So they said, look, we know they're going to kill the scientists if we turn the scientists over to them, but let's see if we can find them and maybe talk them into, trying to find some sort of peaceful accordance here. And so they go to America to track down the scientist, who it turns out is Riri Williams, who eventually becomes the hero Ironheart, who has her own sort of version of the Iron Man armor that she's constructing. You see a very early Mark 1 version of said armor. It's basically just kind of an exosuit. And Shuri and Okoye are sent, and they are sent there to try to, basically talk to her and see what's going on. And, she said, look, I developed this for my metallurgy class here at MIT. I did not intend this to go to the CIA. I don't know how the American government got their hands on it. It's just... And, look, I am willing to, come to Wakanda and help if I can. And so they're preparing to leave. The feds are tailing them because it turns out, before they try to track Riri Williams down, they went to Everett Ross, and it turns out that Everett Ross's new boss is Contessa Allegra Valentina, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character, who is also Ross's ex-wife, and she had been tapping his phones the whole time and aware that he's dealing with the Wakandans when he's not supposed to be. And that eventually winds up with him getting arrested. The Contessa is eventually going to wind up being head of the Thunderbolts, if you haven't figured that out. But anyway, let's see. So as this happens, it's then that the Telokans, and I guess I should explain the Telokans here. Yeah, they're adapting more from Mesoamerican mythology than they are Atlantis, because, one, obviously the Aquaman movie came out because that's already tied to Atlantis. To have another aquatic-based hero tied to Atlantis doesn't really make a lot of sense. So, yeah, yes, I am aware Namor predates Aquaman in the comics, so you don't have to point that out to me. But, again, there's a little too much of the way of similarities there. So, not to mention because they did cast a Hispanic as Namor, it makes a bit more sense to make them, like I said, Mesoamerican. And basically, they were a tribe of Mayans who, when the conquistadors came, prayed to their rain god, who pointed them to this sort of vibranium-laced plant from which they managed to derive a serum that allowed them to live underwater. And Namor's mother was pregnant at the time, and she didn't want to take the serum, but basically they kind of tricked her into doing so by giving her this bracelet that would, they said would protect her, and she only drank enough, but the thing is, when she was pregnant, because she only got enough to live underwater for a brief amount of time, she still aged and died, while the others were basically immortal. And Namor is, as he says, a mutant, although, maybe not in the strictest sense of the terminology, at least in terms of comics, but at this point you could kind of say it's okay, because he's born with the winged feet and the pointed ears, and his skin does not turn blue underwater the way other Atlanteans do. Not Atlanteans. The Telokans do, sorry. So that's kind of what happens there. Like I said, the Telokans intercede. They knock out Shuri and Okoye, not Okoye, but Riri. They tend to take Riri away. Shuri awakens and says, no, take me as well. Let's try to see if we can handle this peacefully. I don't want this person killed. It's not right to have this person be killed. We could try to find a happy ground here. And so they agree to take her. This results in Okoye being kicked out of the Dora Milaje because the Queen is upset. And and it's at this point the Queen goes to Haiti to visit Nakia, T'Challa's love interest from the first movie, who has been there ever since T'Challa died, or even before that, and didn't visit the funeral for reasons we'll get to. But she's been doing this sort of aid work in Haiti. Everything seems fine. It basically said, we need you to look this up and try to figure out where Shuri is, and break her and the scientist out before, they get killed, basically. And as this is happening, Namor is talking with Shuri, trying to explain things. Like I said, he explains her situation, he shows her the Telokan city, and their, exactly, and how they live, and saying, look, we're just trying to live here too. We don't want, the surface world, because, one time I visited the surface, I saw what the conquistadors did to our people, to our, fellow indigenous tribes, and I lashed out. It's like, I don't want war. If they stay away, we enter into an alliance, we watch each other's backs, we could keep them away from us like they need to be. And still, but Shuri doesn't really want war. And by the way, none of this has happened with Shuri being the Black Panther. She's, part of her, like I said, part of her arc is sort of a denial of things. She says, listen, I don't believe in the Black Panther mythos anymore. I don't believe in the god. I believe in science. This is my, this is what I believe in. Yeah. So she's thrown herself more into scientific studies, and sorry, my shoe is come untied. She's thrown herself into her studies. So she's isolated herself. She won't really go out that much. They're trying to get her to like, you should be studying to take over the trials. Your mother's not going to be around much. We don't know how much longer your mother is necessarily going to be around. You need to start studying to be queen yourself. And, she just, again, doesn't really want to deal with it. And so from there, eventually she gets broken up by Nakia. She and Riri get broken up. They get taken back to Wakanda. However, the Telokans attack Wakanda. And in the process of trying to protect Riri, the queen is killed. She drowns. She saves her. She sacrifices herself, again, like I said, to save Riri. And this eventually kind of provides the impetus for Shuri to go through the trial. She manages to successfully clone the special plant that they use, the special herbs that they use for the Panther, and she takes it. She exposes herself like Killmonger and T'Challa before her to see her ancestors, thinking she's going to see her mother, and instead she's greeted by Killmonger. And because it's like, you see who you want to see, and you are angry, and you are filled with rage, and you want vengeance, so that's why I'm here. I'm here because this is what you want to do. I am here because your brother, was too noble and soft. Your father was a spineless hypocrite. Your mother didn't. You are angry and you want to lash out, and she doesn't want to accept that. And she comes out. She still has the Panther abilities afterwards, and they begin planning. As they go through this, they find out that Namor. The reason why Namor is so effective is that his skin basically is the Telokans extract oxygen from the water through diffusion through their skin. So it can be rock hard at times, but they need to basically constant hydration in order to properly breathe on the surface. If they get stuck in the desert, they're going to be in trouble. And so they said, okay, so maybe we could do something to simulate dry conditions and dry him out as best as we can. And this sets up a climactic battle on the Atlantic Ocean. It's a big fight that breaks out. She's also developed. She drives Okoye back in to head up a new team called the Midnight Angels, which Okoye does. Yeah, the other sort of joke of this is that the Dora Milaje keep getting these technologically enhanced weapons that Okoye just doesn't like. She'd rather, just use her trusty spear. So as this happens, like I said, big fight breaks out. Shuri manages to abduct Namor long enough to trap him in this sort of drying room, and he starts to fight to break free. The ship crashes. They're trying to get to a desert so that she can gain further leverage. As they fight and the ship crashes, he needs to get to water because he is damaged. She gets run through with a spear, but she, breaks the spear, gets herself off of it, and starts attacking. They starts his last fight. She finally prepares to deliver a killing blow to Namor, and it's then that she's greeted by the vision of Wakanda, who says, "Stop! No, no, no! Again, you are not acting out of nobility. You are acting out of vengeance. This is a path that you cannot take. You will, it's a momentary release, but it will never bring you joy ever again. You need to accept that we are gone. You need to accept that you can't change everything, and you need to find a better way." And that gets her to yield, and basically makes a deal saying, if you yield and end this battle right now, I will, we will watch each other's back. Like, if anyone attacks you, we'll come to your aid. If anyone attacks us, you will come to our aid. It's like, okay. And basically because, Telokan, they're not quite ready to open up their resistance to the world. they basically return, and again, Namor basically at the end says, Wakanda will be attacked again one day, and we will have to come to their aid, and they will be on our side. And that's the best we can hope for right now. As much as, even though his aunt Namora is not particularly happy about this idea, they kind of have to accept it as best they can. And that effectively leads to the end credit scene. Like I said before, Shuri's sort of arc in this is the fact that she's in a sort of the state of between anger and denial in her mourning, that she just doesn't want to accept that, some things might just be kind of beyond your control. And, that even though her loved ones are gone, that they're not really gone, they're still there. And, as long as she has the memories and everything. And, as part of the mourning process, you have to burn your funeral garb, basically. And she goes to Haiti. She decides not to become queen and instead leaves M'Baku to take over. And it says, look, you will run the country until a new ruler, a proper ruler can be found. And so, first they go and they free Everett Ross to bring him back. And then she goes back to Haiti, where she meets up with Nakia again, and she is introduced to Toussaint, who is obviously T'Challa's son, and that's the big mid-credit sequence. He is T'Challa Jr., basically. And she explains, your mother knew, they were trying to keep it a secret because they didn't want him raised in the country, raised in the middle of war, raised as this is starting to go through some growing pains. I presume, too, they had some inkling of what would be happening in Infinity War. I can't remember if she got blipped or not. Obviously, T'Challa did. And, if you do the math on this, it's like, yeah, your mother knew, we wanted to raise it, we wanted to raise him outside so that he could learn the outside world, have a better grasp at this, so that when he does come to the throne, he can help the transition out of the isolationism a little bit better. And so he's raised under a different name. Toussaint is his Haitian name. His real name is T'Challa. And, I've tried to look information up on this kid. I cannot find anything about him. But he honestly looks like he could have been Chadwick Boseman's son. So it's like, holy jeeps. And yeah, that did kind of prove the tipping point for me. I almost dropped this film down to a B. Again, just because some of the pacing problems really did crop up a little bit. Like I said, there are some when are they going to get to the fireworks factory? And while there is some good banter between some of the characters, unfortunately, the humor just didn't feel like it was there. Even the first film had some humor in it, and this one just didn't. And the jokes felt a little forced, I think. Again, like I said, I'm willing to cut them a lot of slack given the circumstances they were in, but still, it's just guys, it's okay to take a step back and crack a joke every once in a while. I kind of wish they had just done that a little more. Again, just break some of the tension up a little bit, because it ramped so high that there was just no way to properly meet it, especially in a 3-hour time span. Excuse me. So yeah, that's pretty much the problems I had. Like I said, and again, I know they're minor problems, but yeah, the ending was a bit of a gut punch though. So that kind of okay, I feel a little bit better having watched this now. I didn't feel bad watching it, but it's okay, I feel a bit better emotional connection to the film now. So that did help put it over the top, is what I'm trying to say there. So yeah. Like I said, overall, the film gets an A. You should probably go see it if you haven't seen it already. It's definitely a worthy successor to the first Black Panther film. Probably one of I don't know if it's necessarily better than that first one, but it's definitely a worthy successor.
Tony, we've got a big green problem.
Avengers, assemble. On a brand new episode of The Avengers, it's the Hulk versus the Avengers.
Hulk,
stop this! As the Enchantress
Destroy them all.
puts him under her evil spell. No one controls the Hulk! Marvel, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Brand new, Wednesday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central, only on Disney XD.
Okay, trailer time again, and we only had 5 trailers this time. I guess they took into account the length of the movie and decided not to just overload it. Anyway, we had I Want to Dance with Somebody, Devotion, Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania, Violent Night, and Avatar The Way of Water. I guess we had technically 2 new ones with Ant-Man and Wasp Quantumania. I mean, that definitely looks interesting. Definitely more traditional view of Kang in that one. And I'm not spoiling anything. They announced it was going to be Kang a long time ago. I Want to Dance with Somebody is the Whitney Houston biopic. Other than that, again, the other ones are ones we kind of covered already. Violent Night is Santa, Die Hard. The other one is the African American pilot in the Korean War, and the other one was Avatar. So yeah, the Avatar sequel. So yeah, that was pretty much what we got there. Okay, so next week is shaping up to be busy. Again, there'll be another NFL predictions video. There'll be another. Then it's the first 2 episodes of the Santa Clauses. Then it will be Impact Wrestling Overdrive. I'm gonna, like I said, I'd like to at least try to do AEW Full Gear. I haven't purchased the show yet. I'm waiting for a payment to go through on something first. Unfortunately, too, the events of this week have kind of thrown a wrench in some things. I don't know how much it's going to necessarily affect me, that they're going to at least cut me a little slack given the weather, but yeah, I work one of those jobs where you have to do things or you don't get paid, for lack of a better term. Anyway, after that, it's Disenchanted. I'll do that. That'll probably be up the week after that, I think, at some point. The next theatrical release is Strange World, and of course the random trade review on Infamous Iron Man Volume 1. See you all next time. Hey guys, remember you can request a movie or a television series for me to review at my Patreon at patreon.com/CPTime for Cat Productions. Also, remember to like the video, comment, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so that you can be alerted to further videos.